Vela stood alone in the busy station hallway, watching as the other Lumari walked past her without a glance. Their skin glowed with the perfect blue shade that marked them as normal. Vela's skin flickered between blue and green, a flaw that her people could not accept. "Engineer Vela, report to Docking Bay 12 for maintenance duty," a voice said over the station speakers. She sighed and picked up her tool bag. Another day, another repair job that no one else wanted. The station, called Nexus Point, was a busy place where ships from all over the galaxy came to trade and rest. Hundreds of different alien species passed through each day. But even here, far from her homeworld, Vela found no peace. The Lumari valued one thing above all else: perfection. Their society had strict rules about how a proper Lumari should look and behave. Vela's mind was sharp, perhaps the sharpest among her peers. But her body was wrong. The color shifting in her skin marked her as different. In Lumari culture, different meant broken. Vela reached Docking Bay 12 and began work on a fuel line that needed fixing. Her six-fingered hands moved quickly and with skill. She had always been good with machines. They did not judge her by her looks. They cared only if she could make them work. And she always could. "Vela, why are you taking so long with that simple repair?" Station Manager Dorn, another Lumari, stood behind her with his arms crossed. His skin glowed a perfect, steady blue. "I am almost finished, sir," Vela said, keeping her eyes down. "Almost is not good enough. The Coalition ship Stellar Grace will dock in 1 hour. I need this bay perfect before they arrive." Dorn looked at her with disgust as her skin flickered to green. "And try to stay out of sight when they come. We don't need them seeing your kind." Vela nodded, used to such words. 5 years ago, they still had the power to hurt her. Now they were just noise. She finished the repair in half the time another engineer would need. Then she moved to the next job, and the next. Vela worked twice as hard as anyone else on the station. She had to, just to be seen as half as good. During her break, she sat alone in a quiet corner of the station's food hall. Around her, aliens of all kinds talked and ate together. Tall, four-armed Brachians laughed with short, fuzzy Gleep traders. Even the insect-like Krosh shared tables with the reptilian Drax. Everyone had a place here. Everyone except Vela. A group of Lumari officials walked into the hall. They were from a Coalition diplomatic ship, their uniforms marking them as important people. Vela shrank in her seat, hoping they wouldn't notice her. "Is that a defective one?" One official whispered to another, looking at Vela. "Yes, working-class station maintenance. Where else would they put such a flawed specimen?" The other replied. Vela pretended not to hear. She had applied to work on Coalition ships 15 times. Each time, her technical scores were the highest of all applicants. Each time, she was rejected during the physical examination. Later that day, as Vela worked on cleaning the station's air filters, a message came on her work pad. It read, "Engineer position open. Coalition science vessel Quantum Leap. All qualified Lumari encouraged to apply." Vela stared at the message. Part of her wanted to try again. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe this captain would care more about skill than appearance. She thought about it for a long time. Then, with a heavy heart, she deleted the message. Nothing would change. Not for her. Little did Vela know that tomorrow, a different kind of ship would dock at Nexus Point. A human ship. And everything would change. The next day, alarms rang throughout Nexus Point. Emergency landing in Bay 7. All repair crews on standby. The station's computer announced. Vela grabbed her tools and ran to Bay 7. When she arrived, she saw a ship unlike any other docked there. It was smaller than Coalition vessels, but had a sturdy look to it. The words Horizon were painted on its side in a language she recognized as human. Smoke poured from the ship's engine section. Station workers rushed around, trying to contain the damage. Manager Dorn stood nearby, looking worried. "You, go help with the minor repairs in Bay 9, Dorn told Vela when he saw her. The good engineers will handle this. Vela turned to leave, but a loud voice stopped her. Hold on there. A tall figure walked out of the smoke. It was a human male with dark hair and a beard. His skin was tan, and he wore a simple captain's jacket with patches on the elbows. Who's in charge of repairs here? I am, Captain, Dorn said quickly. I'm Station Manager Dorn. We'll have your ship fixed in no time. The human looked at the gathered engineers, his eyes moving past the perfect Lumari, until they landed on Vela, who stood off to the side. He noticed her skin flickering between blue and green. What about her? The human asked, pointing to Vela. Dorn laughed nervously. Oh, she's just basic maintenance. For your ship, Captain. Jack, the human said. Captain Jack of the independent cargo ship Horizon. He walked over to Vela, ignoring Dorn's protests. You an engineer? Jack asked her directly. Vela was surprised. Most people talked about her, not to her. Yes, sir. I am Engineer Vela. Jack nodded. What would you do about a Type 3 propulsion burn like mine? Vela thought for a moment. This was a test. She could see the damage from where she stood. Your coolant lines are ruptured, she said. The standard fix would take 3 days. But if you reroute the secondary lines through the auxiliary chamber and use a pressure seal patch, you could be flying again in 8 hours. Jack grinned. That's exactly what I was thinking. He turned to Dorn. I want her on my repair team. Dorn's perfect blue skin darkened with anger. But Captain, we have much more qualified. Her, Jack said firmly. Or I take my business to another station. Dorn couldn't argue. Human trade routes were new and valuable. The station needed their business. Fine, he said coldly. Vela, you're assigned to the human ship. For the next few hours, Vela worked on the Horizon's engines. Jack stayed nearby, watching her work with interest. Where did you learn to fix ships like this? He asked, as she quickly solved a tricky power coupling problem. I studied engineering at the Lumari Academy, Vela said, focusing on her work. Top of my class. So why are you doing basic maintenance on this station? Vela's skin flickered rapidly, showing her discomfort. I don't qualify for better positions. Jack frowned. Because of your skin. Vela stopped working and looked at him in surprise. Most aliens pretended not to notice her difference. Yes, she said simply. Lumari with physical flaws are not given important jobs. Jack shook his head. That makes no sense. On Earth, that's my planet. We care about what people can do, not what they look like. That seems strange, Vela said. What's strange is wasting talent, Jack replied. He pointed to the engine she had nearly fixed in record time. Like yours. As they talked, a group of Lumari officials walked into the bay. They were the same ones Vela had seen the day before. What is this defective doing on a repair job? One asked loudly. Vela's skin turned a deep green with shame. She waited for Jack to realize his mistake in choosing her. Instead, the human straightened up and stepped between her and the officials. That defective, as you call her, is saving me thousands of credits and days of delay, Jack said in a firm voice. I'd say that makes her pretty valuable, wouldn't you? The Lumari officials looked shocked. No one had ever defended Vela before. And in that moment, something changed inside her. For the first time in years, Vela felt a small spark of hope. The next day, Vela arrived early to continue working on the Horizon. She couldn't stop thinking about Captain Jack and how he had defended her. No one had ever done that before. When she entered the ship, she found Jack already awake, looking at star charts on a screen. Good morning, he said with a smile. Ready to finish those repairs? Vela nodded and got to work. As she fixed the remaining damage to the engines, Jack brought her a cup of something hot. It's coffee, he explained. Human drink. Helps us work better. Vela tried it and made a face. Jack laughed at her reaction. It's not for everyone, he said. So tell me about these engines. What else could make them better? This was something Vela understood well. She began explaining how the Horizon's engines could be improved. As she talked, her skin shifted to a bright, steady green, a sign of excitement that she usually tried to hide. If you replace this connector with a dual-phase model and add a power regulator here, your ship could go 20% faster using the same amount of fuel, she said. Jack looked impressed. That's exactly what I need. My delivery contracts often have tight deadlines. I could make these changes today, Vela offered. I have some parts I've been saving. For years, Vela had collected discarded parts and pieces from the station's junk bins. Other engineers thought these parts were useless, but Vela saw potential in them. Jack agreed, and Vela went to get her collection of parts. When she returned, a small crowd had gathered around the Horizon. Word had spread about the human who had chosen a defective Lumari as his engineer. "Watch," one alien whispered to another. "The human will regret his choice when his ship fails." Vela tried to ignore them as she worked. Hours passed as she modified the Horizon's engines. Jack stayed nearby, asking questions and helping when needed. He seemed genuinely interested in her ideas, something Vela had never experienced before. By late afternoon, she had finished. "We should test it," she said nervously. If it didn't work, everyone would laugh at her, and at Jack for trusting her. "Let's do it," Jack said confidently. They powered up the engines. At first, nothing happened. The watching crowd began to murmur. Then suddenly, the engines roared to life, glowing brighter than before. The ship's computer displayed the new power readings. 25% more efficient, not just the 20% Vela had promised. "It works," Jack exclaimed, grinning widely. "It's even better than you said." The crowd fell silent, shocked by the success. Among them stood Dorn and several high-ranking Lumari officials who had come to witness what they expected would be a failure. One official stepped forward, his blue skin glowing with anger. "This proves nothing," he said loudly. "A lucky accident at best." "Lucky?" Jack looked at the official in disbelief. "She just did in one day what your qualified engineers said would take a week and cost 10 times as much." He turned to Vela. "How many times have you applied for positions on coalition ships?" 15 times, Vela answered quietly. "And were you rejected because of your technical skills?" "No," she said. "I had the highest test scores each time." Jack turned back to the officials. "You've been rejecting the best engineer in this sector because of her skin color. Where I come from, we call that a pretty stupid business decision." The Lumari officials looked offended, but they had no answer. The proof of Vela's talent hummed in the background as the Horizon's engines ran perfectly. Later, when they were alone in the ship, Jack asked Vela a question that would change her life. "The Horizon needs a chief engineer," he said. "Someone who sees possibilities where others see junk. Someone who can turn a good ship into a great one." He looked her in the eyes. "Would you consider taking the job?" Vela's skin pulsed with rapid color changes, surprise, hope, and fear all mixed together. Could she really leave this station? Did she dare? I need to think about it," she said. Jack nodded. "Take your time. We leave tomorrow at noon." Vela couldn't sleep that night. The idea of leaving Nexus Point both excited and terrified her. For years, this station had been her prison, but at least it was familiar. The universe beyond was unknown. Morning came, and Vela went to clear out her small living quarters. She didn't own much: some clothes, a few tools, and a box of special parts she had collected. Her life fit into one bag. As she walked toward the Horizon, she heard whispers around her. "Did you hear? The human offered her a job. Why would anyone want a defective on their crew? His ship will probably break down as soon as they leave." At the docking bay, Vela found Jack talking with a group of aliens. Some were his crew, a mix of humans and other species. Others were station merchants trying to sell him last-minute supplies. One merchant, a tall Brachian with 4 arms, spotted Vela approaching. "Captain Jack," the merchant said loudly, I must warn you about taking on a defective Lumari. They bring bad luck to ships. Everyone knows this. Jack looked at the merchant with a calm expression. Thanks for your concern, he said, but on Earth, we have a saying, judge by results, not rumors. He pointed at his ship, and her results speak for themselves. The merchant walked away, shaking his head. Jack turned to Vela with a smile. Have you decided? He asked. Vela took a deep breath. Yes, I want to accept your offer. Jack's smile grew wider. Excellent. Let me introduce you to the crew. He led her to the small group nearby. Everyone, this is Vela, our new chief engineer. There were 5 others. 2 humans named Tom and Maya, a furry gleep called Finn, a reptilian Drax named Koro, and a quiet, spider-like Hross that clicked its mandibles in greeting. The Hross is Tick, Jack explained. He doesn't speak much, but he's the best navigator in 3 sectors. The crew welcomed Vela warmly. None of them seemed to care about her changing skin color. They only asked about her engineering skills and listened with interest to her answers. As they prepared to board, Manager Dorn appeared with 3 Lumari officials. Stop, Dorn commanded. This Lumari cannot leave. Jack stepped forward. Why not? She's accepted a position on my ship. The tallest official produced a data pad. Defective specimens must remain in assigned work areas. It's coalition law. No, Jack said firmly. It's Lumari law, not coalition law. I checked this morning. He pulled out his own data pad. Article 42 of the Coalition Labor Charter states that any qualified worker may accept employment on any registered vessel, regardless of species regulations. The officials looked surprised. Jack continued, Before I became a cargo captain, I worked in interspecies diplomatic relations. I know the laws very well. The officials huddled together, whispering urgently. Finally, the tall one spoke again. Very well. But be warned, this defective will reflect poorly on our species. Any failures will be reported to the Coalition. The only failure here, Jack replied, is wasting talent because it doesn't fit your narrow view of perfection. The officials left, clearly unhappy. Dorn stayed behind, looking at Vela with disgust. You think you found a place? He asked her. These humans don't understand our ways. They don't know that defectives bring shame. Vela's skin flickered rapidly, but she stood tall. Perhaps it's time for new ways, she said. It was the first time she had ever stood up to him. Inside the ship, Jack showed Vela to the engine room. It was smaller than those on coalition vessels, but well organized. This is your domain now, he said. Whatever you need, just ask. Vela ran her hands over the controls. I've never had my own. Anything before? Well, get used to it, Jack said. On this ship, everyone is valued for what they can do, not what they look like. As the Horizon prepared for departure, Vela felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Belonging. From the window, she watched Nexus Point grow smaller as they flew away. She was leaving behind a life of shame and entering a world of possibility. Life aboard the Horizon was nothing like Vela had expected. On Nexus Point, she had been ignored or mocked. Here, she was respected and included. Each morning, the crew gathered in the small dining area to share breakfast and discuss the day's work. At first, Vela sat quietly, afraid to speak. By the 3rd day, she was joining the conversations, sharing her ideas about ship improvements. These power couplings are wearing out, she told Jack 1 week into their journey. I can modify them to last twice as long. Do it, Jack said without hesitation. He trusted her judgment completely. Vela spent her days exploring every part of the ship's systems. She found ways to make the engines run smoother, the life support more efficient, and the shields stronger. The other crew members would often find her working late into the night, her skin glowing a happy green as she tinkered with machines. Maya, the human navigator, became Vela's first real friend. She taught Vela about human customs and helped her understand their jokes. "Why do humans laugh so much?" Vela asked one day. "Life's hard enough," Maya replied. "Laughing makes it better." The Horizon traveled from planet to planet, delivering cargo. At each stop, Vela stayed on the ship, afraid to face the stares of strangers. But Jack had other plans. When they reached the trading post on Kelta IV, he came to find her in the engine room. "We need supplies," he said, "and you're coming with me." "But people will stare at my skin," Vela protested. Jack shrugged. "Let them. You're the chief engineer of the fastest independent cargo ship in the sector. They should stare." Together, they walked through the busy market. Some aliens did stare at Vela's color-changing skin, but many more were interested in Jack's stories about the Horizon's improved speed. "Is it true you can outrun Coalition patrol ships now?" one trader asked. "Tested it last week," Jack replied with a grin. "Thanks to our engineer here." Word of the Horizon's capability spread quickly. Soon, other captains were approaching Jack with better-paying contracts because his ship could deliver goods faster than competitors. Each time, Jack made sure they knew it was Vela's work that made it possible. After 2 months, the Horizon received an urgent delivery request. A medical facility on Boros needed supplies within 3 days. The normal route would take 5 days. "We can't make it in time," Tom, the pilot, said during their planning meeting. "What if we cut through the Verith asteroid field?" Vela suggested. The crew fell silent. The Verith field was notoriously dangerous. Ships avoided it, adding weeks to their journeys rather than risk crossing it. "It's too risky," Koro the Drac said, his scales shifting nervously. Vela's skin flickered rapidly as she explained, "Not with the modifications I've made to our sensors and shields. We can detect gaps in the asteroid pattern and slip through safely." Jack looked at her carefully. "You're sure about this?" "Yes," Vela said firmly. "I've been studying the field's movement patterns. The ship can handle it now." Jack nodded. "Then we go through the field." The journey through the Verith field was tense. Tom piloted while Vela monitored the shields and engines. Twice, large asteroids came dangerously close, but the improved shields held. Tick the Ross clicked excitedly as they navigated the maze of floating rocks. When they emerged on the other side unharmed, the entire crew cheered. They had made it through in just 10 hours, a feat no other ship had accomplished. They reached Boros with a full day to spare. The medical facility was amazed. "You've saved many lives by getting these supplies here so quickly," the facility director told them. That night, the crew celebrated. Jack raised a toast to Vela. "To our amazing engineer, who sees paths where others see obstacles." Vela's skin glowed a bright, happy green as the crew cheered. For the first time in her life, she felt proud of who she was, color-changing skin and all. 3 months after Vela joined the Horizon, the ship had become one of the most sought-after cargo vessels in the sector. Their reputation for speed and reliability brought better contracts and higher pay for everyone. One quiet afternoon, as they traveled between planets, an emergency signal beeped on the communication panel. "Distress call coming in," Maya announced from her station. "It's a Lumari vessel." Vela froze. Her skin turned a pale blue, the Lumari color of fear. Jack came to the bridge immediately. "Put it through." A Lumari face appeared on the screen. Vela recognized the markings of a high-ranking diplomat. "This is Ambassador Trell of the Coalition vessel Star Ember," the Lumari said. "We have suffered critical system failures. Our engines are offline, and life support is failing. We require immediate assistance. This is Captain Jack of the independent vessel Horizon. We can reach your position in 2 hours. Hold tight." When the transmission ended, Jack turned to find Vela standing in the doorway, her skin flickering wildly. "They're Lumari diplomats," she said quietly. "Important ones." Jack nodded. "Yes, and they need our help." "They won't want help from me," Vela said. "They won't accept a defective touching their systems." Jack put his hand gently on her shoulder. "You're not defective. You're the best engineer I have ever known. And right now, you might be their only hope." The Horizon changed course and pushed its engines to maximum speed. They reached the disabled Lumari ship in just under 2 hours. It was a large, elegant vessel, much bigger than the Horizon. As they docked, Jack gathered the crew. "Vela, you'll come with me to assess their engine damage. Tom and Koro, check their life support systems." When they boarded the Star Ember, they were met by a group of Lumari officials. Their perfect blue skin seemed to darken when they saw Vela. "What is this?" Ambassador Trell asked, pointing at Vela. "You brought a defective aboard our vessel." Jack stepped forward. "This is Vela, the Horizon's chief engineer. She's here to save your ship and your lives." "Unacceptable," another diplomat said. "We cannot allow a defective to touch our systems. It would violate protocol." While they argued, a young Lumari engineer approached them, looking worried. "Ambassador, the situation is worse than we thought. The cooling system is about to fail completely. If it does, the reactor will melt down in less than an hour." The ambassador looked torn. "Can you fix it?" The young engineer shook his head. "I've tried everything I know. The damage is too complex." All eyes turned to Vela. "Let me look at it," she said quietly. After a moment of tense silence, Ambassador Trell nodded. "Very well, but under protest." Vela followed the young engineer to the engine room. The damage was indeed serious. A power surge had fried multiple systems simultaneously. "I've never seen anything like this," the young engineer admitted. "It would take days to replace all the damaged parts." "We don't have days," Vela said. She studied the systems carefully. Her mind raced through possibilities, considering and discarding ideas rapidly. Then she saw it, a solution no one else would have thought of because no one else had spent years fixing things with limited resources. "I need these tools," she told the young engineer, listing items quickly. "And I need access to your secondary power grid." For 45 minutes, Vela worked frantically. The ship's warning alarms blared as the reactor temperature climbed higher. The Lumari crew watched her with a mixture of hope and disgust as her skin shifted between green concentration and blue fear. Jack stayed by her side, handing her tools and providing encouragement. "You can do this," he whispered. With just minutes to spare, Vela made the final connection in her improvised repair system. The ship's computer announced, "Cooling system online. Reactor temperature decreasing." The Star Ember was saved. In the control room, even Ambassador Trell couldn't hide his relief. "How?" he asked Vela. "How did you fix something our best engineers couldn't?" Vela's skin glowed a confident green. "I saw a different path," she said simply. "Sometimes being different lets you see solutions others miss." News of the Star Ember rescue spread quickly across the galaxy. The story of how a defective Lumari had saved a ship full of diplomats caught everyone's attention. Some reports focused on the human captain who had given Vela a chance. Others focused on the incredible engineering solution she had created under pressure. A month after the rescue, the Horizon received a special message. The Coalition Council had awarded Vela their highest engineering honor. The ceremony would take place on Central Station, the heart of Coalition space. "Are you going to accept it?" Jack asked Vela as they sat in the ship's dining area. "I don't know," she replied. Her skin shifted between excited green and nervous blue. "What if it's a trick? What if they just want to make fun of me?" "They wouldn't dare," Maya said firmly. "Not after what you did. Besides, we'll all be there with you." 2 weeks later, the Horizon docked at Central Station. It was the largest space station Vela had ever seen, filled with aliens from hundreds of worlds. As the crew prepared for the ceremony, Jack received an unexpected visitor, Captain Len, another human who commanded the cargo ship Starward. "I heard about your engineer," Len said. "Is it true she modified your engines to cut through the Verith field?" "She did," Jack confirmed. "Best decision I ever made was hiring her." "I need someone like that," Len said. "Are there more Lumari like her?" Jack thought for a moment. There are probably many talented Lumari who are overlooked because they're different. The Lumari call them defective. But that's nonsense. Where would I find them? Len asked. That conversation gave Jack an idea. Later, he shared it with Vela. What if we started a program to connect different Lumari with ship captains who need good engineers? We could call it the New Path Program. Vela's skin turned the brightest green Jack had ever seen. We could help others like me find places where they belong, she said. The ceremony was held in the Grand Hall of Central Station. Hundreds of people attended, including many Lumari officials. Ambassador Trull was there, along with Manager Dorn from Nexus Point. When Vela walked onto the stage, her skin flickered rapidly between colors. She was nervous but held her head high. Jack and the rest of the Horizon crew sat in the front row, smiling encouragingly. Lumari Engineer Vela, the Coalition representative announced, for your extraordinary achievement in saving the Star Ember and its diplomatic mission, we present you with the Coalition Medal of Engineering Excellence. As the medal was placed around her neck, Vela looked out at the crowd. Many Lumari still looked uncomfortable, but others, particularly those with slight imperfections of their own, watched with hope in their eyes. Thank you for this honor, Vela said into the microphone. Her voice shook slightly at first, but grew stronger as she continued. All my life, I was told that being different made me less valuable. But being different is what allowed me to see solutions others couldn't see. She looked directly at the Lumari officials. There are many others like me who have amazing talents to offer, if only given the chance. After the ceremony, Jack announced the creation of the New Path Program to help connect overlooked Lumari engineers with ships that needed their talents. Vela would lead the program while continuing her role on the Horizon. 6 months later, 20 different Lumari had found positions on various ships. The program was changing lives and changing minds. One evening, as the Horizon prepared to leave on another delivery run, Vela stood at the viewport watching ships come and go. Jack joined her there. Happy? He asked. Vela's skin glowed a steady, peaceful green. Yes, she said. I never imagined my life could be like this. You know what humans say, Jack replied with a smile. Sometimes the thing that makes you different is your greatest strength. As the Horizon pulled away from the station, Vela thought about all the other different people out there, of all species, waiting for someone to see their true worth. Thanks to one human who had looked beyond appearances, many would now get that chance. And that was just the beginning.